I want to take some time today to really go through yesterday's Trump rally in Pennsylvania, not because Donald Trump did anything particularly more unhinged than normal. It was filled with all of the stuff that has unfortunately become normal in presidential rallies in the Trump era. But the reason that I want to go through it in a little more detail than we normally might is because of its sociological value, how it gives us insight and understanding into what is happening in the world of Trumpists that exists, which I'll be perfectly honest, as someone who lives in Boston and only occasionally travels to, rural Missouri or these types of places where we have a bigger concentration of Trumpists and the ideology and cult of personality that's been developed there. I think it's important for us not to understand what's going on and to realize that only through realizing how it all works can we actually develop a strategy that might work to remove Donald Trump. It's really important for us to understand that this is a large contingent of the country. Here in Boston, it's very left wing, and even the right wingers that there are more Romney-ish right wingers, although there's everything. Of course, I don't want to generalize, but to some degree, I have to generalize. We're talking here about tens of millions of people who, in my sense, a big portion of whom could vote again for Donald Trump in 2020. We're talking about 60 million people in 2016 whose connection to reality and facts and reason and decency has been severed by this presidency. You will notice that the Trump rally, as an institution of society, has now become reminiscent of the rallies of the great authoritarians of the 20th and 21st, early 21st century. Now, I'm not calling Trump Hitler. Stop with the childish stuff. What I am saying is that these rallies over the decades from authoritarian strongmen and particularly ignorant authoritarian strongmen start to take on a similar feel and characteristic. No dissenting voices are allowed. The audience must be completely united fervently behind whatever the strongman says, with no assessment of the truth of what the strongman says. The atmosphere has to be both sort of jovial, but constantly on the verge of becoming violent as well, if the wrong thing is said or if the wrong person appears. Reverential towards the dear leader, no matter what they say. Absolute and total lies stated as truth and cheered by the audience as if they are truth. An unsafe place for any kind of difference of opinion, a place where everyone is constantly judging, evaluating, and monitoring the level of commitment of those around them to the strong man that is ranting on the stage. Anyway, this one in Pennsylvania yesterday was really out of control. Let's look at a few moments. This was one of Trump's ugliest and most sickening performances in a very long time. The more the walls close in, the more erratic and authoritarian he becomes. Here is Trump repeating the lie that we weren't respected under Obama, but now we are.
I say, and I've already said it twice tonight, this country is so respected, and we were not respected 4 years ago. We were laughed at.
Of course, the truth is the opposite. The UN literally laughing at Trump during his latest UN speech. The world leaders last week at the NATO summit, literally laughing at Donald Trump. We are now a laughingstock. We weren't then, but facts don't matter. Trump later claiming that his bogus trade war is helping people when it has done a lot of damage, including in the state of Pennsylvania, which we will discuss.
I've taken the toughest ever action against China's trade abuses. They want to make a deal so badly. And we're doing well with the deal, but they want to make a deal. Please make a deal. We don't want to pay tariffs anymore. Please, please. Thanks to our steel tariffs, steel mills in Pennsylvania are roaring back to life, and U.S. Steel has just announced a $1 billion investment in Mon Valley Works in Pittsburgh. You know that, right?
Everything is the opposite. No one in the crowd has any clue what Donald Trump is talking about. And then Trump tells the crowd that they have had their best year ever. He tells the Pennsylvania crowd that Pennsylvania has had its best year ever.
Here in Pennsylvania, you had the single best year that you've ever had in the history of our country. Not bad.
Now, this is not only wrong, it's meaningless in a sense. Like, what does it mean that a state had its best year ever? But the reality is that Pennsylvania lost about 10,000 factory jobs. Trump's own trade policy has been crushing their steel industry, crushing their manufacturing industries, which are important industries in Pennsylvania, particularly, outside of Philadelphia, outside some of the biggest cities. At one point during the rally, a female protester with a pink sign had a pink sign that said "grabbing power back." This is a reference, of course, to Trump talking about grabbing women by the sign saying we're going to grab power back. The crowd noticed her, started booing. Trump said, "Get her out." They threw her out. Very quickly, the crowd will turn on you at these rallies.
Yesterday, the Justice Department's Inspector General released a report detailing the outrageous, scandalous, and unprecedented abuses of power Get her out. Get her out.
Trump, of course, attacking impeachment, calling everything disgusting and a fraud.
Now that the Russia witch hunt is dead, a big, fat, disgusting fraud, the congressional Democrats are pushing the impeachment witch hunt having to do with Ukraine. But that's already failing. You saw their so-called articles of impeachment today? People are saying they're not even a crime. What happened? All of these horrible things, remember? Bribery and this and that. Where are they? They send these two things that are not even a crime.
Trump then combining their two most common defenses in one go, which is this didn't happen and this isn't a crime. It did happen, but it's not a crime. The crowd doesn't realize it or they don't care. Donald Trump very often will do this. He will say, oh, this thing that they're saying I did, I definitely didn't do it. And by the way, legal experts, he'll often quote people like Mark Levin and Greg Jarrett from Fox News. Legal experts say there's no crime. There's no crime. Wait, so hold on. Did you not do it or did you do it, but there's no crime? It doesn't matter. Trump then galvanizing anger against the media in general, another common authoritarian technique of uniting the crowd angrily against any attempted check on the lies and the wrongdoing of the strongman, and Trump going after the dishonest, corrupt media.
To say this, look, and I always have to say this, you have some really great journalists and you have some honest publications, but not too many of them, I have to be honest with you. The legislator, well, you know that. Does anybody think the media is honest? Does anybody think they're totally corrupt and dishonest? All right.
And then Donald Trump calling the FBI scum. That's a nice one, right? Referring to top-level cops and dirty players who are leaving, referring to intelligence officials, people at the FBI, so on and so forth.
And if you look at what's happened with the scum that's leaving the very top of government, people that others used to say, oh, they're dirty, these were dirty cops, these were dirty players. You take a look at what's going on, there's 21 of them already. And I'm not even they're just leaving because they got caught like nobody ever got caught.
Now, at one point, it actually goes beyond parody. Trump has ignored the constitutional oversight mechanisms that the House has, ignoring subpoenas to people that work for him, directing people not to testify, violating the emoluments clause endlessly. And he closes the rally with, we support, protect, and defend the Constitution, which is sometimes a meaningless bit of drivel that we hear from elected officials. But with Trump, it happens to also be extremely opposed to the truth, indistinguishable from parody. Take a look.
And above all, we will never stop fighting for the sacred values that bind us together as one America, one great country, one America. We support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. We stand with the incredible heroes of law enforcement.
We also have some video from interviews with Trumpists outside of the rally. And some of you may be eating as you listen to the show or watch the show, so I don't want to spoil your appetite with too much of this stuff. But it won't come as a surprise that the Trumpists that are interviewed, they repeat the exact same talking points, often verbatim, that have been fed to them by the dear leader. They have no idea what's going on. And I actually feel more sad than angry about this. It's sad because if we taught critical thinking, if we taught philosophy, if we taught civics starting, in middle school, a lot of this stuff, a lot of these people would never fall for this stuff to begin with. But listen to how this guy repeats Trump's phrases word for word in defending Donald Trump.
You start on it. What gets me fired up is the impeachment hoax. Okay, other issues, jobs, unemployment the lowest, black unemployment lowest, women's, all those things are all positives. But when you have such a hoax, when we all saw the Washington Compost 19 minutes into his election, into 2016 when he was elected, they said the impeachment process has started now. 19 minutes in. Are you kidding me? And then all this here, and now they said they have the two things they're going to, obstruction of Congress, not even obstruction of justice, but obstruction of Congress, and abuse of power, which that's a big joke because they talk about quid pro quo. I see the video of Joe Biden saying, if you don't fire that prosecutor, I'm leaving in 6 hours. You're not getting the $1 billion. That's on video. And they're saying, oh, he didn't do anything. And yet the president asked the question. Now, I'm not an English major, but the president, if you read the transcript, please read the transcript. He asked a question. If you would do me a favor, if. So he's giving the ball to the Ukrainian president.
It's a combination of weaponized ignorance, red herrings, misunderstandings of the facts, refers to the transcript, which of course we don't have because they didn't release a transcript. They released a little excerpt. It's all word for word. What Trump gives them, they repeat in unwavering defense of the dear leader. So what's the takeaway? The takeaways are we still have a country that is a Western democracy on paper and in principle. But for half of the country, or almost half of the country, 40% of the country, the dynamics, the feel, the style, it's becoming what we see in authoritarian strongman nations, and it should scare the hell out of us if it hasn't already. Number two, we can't win by talking sense into those people. We can't talk them into voting for someone other than Trump. Now, I understand this is a rally. These are the rabid supporters who don't care about the facts. Now, sure, the rally crowds are crazier and wackier than the people who just go to work and then they consider themselves Republicans and election day comes around and they might vote for Donald Trump. But in either case, we've got to focus on get out the vote. We have to galvanize our side because a lot of these people are not reachable, and it is a waste of time to try to convince them at the individual level. I don't think we should do it. I think we should work on get out the vote, voter registration, preventing voter suppression, and foreign meddling in the election. Let me know what you think. Very depressing. Leave a reply if you're watching on YouTube. Send me a tweet at @Pakman. Follow me, by the way, on Twitter @Pakman as well.